Mm. Oh,
Hey everyone, welcome back to AI Insights. My name is Fleur Prince. Welcome to another episode of AI Insight. I'm here together with my co-host Garya.
hi, everyone. Before we start our episode today, I just wanted to congratulate Fleur on her incredible accomplishment. If you haven't heard, she's going to be speaking in AI for Good next week on Wednesday. So if you're there, you may be, go check her out.
Yeah, I will be in the Youth Zone. I will be on a panel. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. So you can get maybe a little intro into what she might say by listening to this episode. Maybe not, but maybe something will overlap.
I mean, the panel is mostly about the work that I do for the AI for Good community. So the young
Yeah.
AI leaders, we're both hub leaders for. You're
Yeah.
Ireland, I do the Netherlands.
Mhm.
And like super excited just to talk about it, but also to like be announced, not per se as just like as just Fleur Prince, but as the co-host of AI Insights.
Yeah, it's gonna be we're so excited, so
It
stay
feels
tuned.
like a whole new chapter for our podcast, just in general.
I know, and it's like we've been growing so steadily over the years, like, it's great to have that, demarcator of like, "Whoa," you know?
No, agreed. And also, like, I don't know if everyone else, by the way, saw it before we actually go into the news, but also we are now officially the AI Insights Network.
Yeah. Rebranding.
Exactly. We're more serious. We're now a network.
Mhm. We wanted to cover kind of because obviously we both do consulting as well. So we wanted to cover kind of the broader aspects of what we do and the work that we do that's connected to the podcast, but not necessarily the podcast. So yeah, now we're a network.
So much more serious.
Yeah.
But of course, everyone's here also to listen to what is happening this week. So this week in the AI store isn't just about chatting with models in a browser window. It's about handing those models the keys to your entire operating system, watching the video generation market explode into a multi-billion-dollar arms race, and seeing the internet finally build borders to keep the bots out. Yes, the walls are
Yep.
going up.
So for the past few years, obviously, we've been talking about AI. We typed in a prompt and it would give us text back. But for this week, the paradigm really shift permanently. Google just gave its models the ability to autonomously click, type, and take over your device, while Cloudflare essentially drew a hard line in the sand, giving websites the power to block AI agents from scraping their data. We are officially moving from an era of conversational AI to the era of autonomous digital agents, and the internet is going to have to.
Yeah, and I mean the theme for this episode is actually the agentic web is here. We talked about it earlier. So as AI models from cloud-based chatbots to local autonomous systems can operate our devices, the digital infrastructure from web scrapers to sovereign computers is being completely overhauled to manage the disruption. But I would say the question here is actually when an AI agent can browse the web and operate your desktop faster than you can, who actually owns the
Yeah, completely. I actually read a paper on this week that was really good. So it was about agentic attribution. So in a world where AI generated content is threatening to outpace human generated content, who is the person tagged with responsibility for those infinitely cascading consequences? So the agentic web is going to force us to verify something that the old web presumed, which is that there's a morally and legally accountable person. So basically, this paper that I was reading is saying, in on an internet where you don't know what's human and things are happening all the time, how do you trace something back to a human if things go wrong? So if an AI agent is going haywire, how do you connect that back to a person who is either responsible or can solve it? So there's a lot of really interesting questions around it.
No, agreed. And also, this actually not one of the things that we discussed, but in Estonia, they're actually opening up e-residency to agents. So it's no
What?
longer just to people who can be an e-resident, but also now agents as well.
What does that even mean?
Well,
What?
that is the question that they're gonna have to figure out. So an agent, well, actually, I read into this. So what it actually means for an agent to be e-resident in Estonia. They can open their own bank accounts, they can do purchases, they can even get a credit card. There does have to be a person behind it, so when you register the agent, there does have to be a name attached to it, so a human name. But it means pretty much you can, like, create 10 or 20 agents just doing work for you, and they can work autonomous.
Yeah, and apparently Estonia is also the first country to issue AI ID codes to autonomous agents. So the same way that like you or I would have an ID, an AI agent does too. It's like, what? Like, what world are we entering into? Crazy.
Well, that's a good actually thing for our opening story. So Agentic OS, so Google is handing over the keys in this case. So people are of course like asking, okay, what does that even mean? So
Mhm.
what happened is Google rolled out this massive update this week integrating computer use into Gemini 3.5 Flash. This allows developers to build custom agents capable of seeing, reasoning, and taking action across desktop, mobile, and browser environments. Concurrently, OpenAI previewed actually its own generation model, GPT 5.6 Sol, while highlighting how AI agents are fundamentally transforming these workflows. And this leap from theory to execution, because we have talked about in the past about agentic AI on the podcast, but
Okay.
we're no longer like discussing if AI will automate complex multiple digital chores, but how quickly it will be deployed across everyday enterprise hardware. Because these kind of things you can just run on your average, well, in my case, Apple MacBook Pro.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's just becoming more and more popular. Like I remember OpenClaw came out recently, and that was like everybody was like, "Oh my God, OpenClaw, it's agentic, etc." And then kind of Claude's like agentic capacities that was released more recently as well. But now it's becoming a thing where we saw this 2 years ago with the release of photo generation in AI, where every single model was, starting to become able to do it. But some models stood out. For example, Gemini still to this day has better photo generation. Now we're kind of seeing it the same sort of trend where all of these different AI companies are coming out with agentic services, and then I guess we'll just see which one becomes the most predominant. But what's for certain is that the web is going to change forever. I remember back in the day, Fleur probably remembers this too, but back in the day, there were like trolls, but trolls were real life people that were copying and pasting, messages of whatever nature into different forums. So a human had to sit there and copy and paste some sort of message. Russia used to have this disinformation factory called the global internet building or something like that. But you used to, they would hire people, and that was like kind of their propaganda center. And the hiring, like you could see on Indeed, they would hire people to post on Twitter. It's 12-hour shifts, post on Twitter, copy and paste onto Twitter, which is fascinating because, it's real people that are putting out, content on behalf of a state. Versus now, those people have lost their jobs, I bet, because I mean, if I wanted to set up like an informational campaign, a disinformational campaign, any form of campaign, I could take this agentic OS with Google and integrate it into 3.5 Flash and say, I want this, this, and this posted, this, and here, and here. And then it's done.
No, and yeah, I agree. It just is going to change so much. Also, indeed, who you will have to start asking who's a robot and who's a human.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is a Matrix movie all over again.
Well, we're human.
We're human.
For,
Yeah,
for anyone listening.
exactly. We record this every Saturday
Yeah.
at 9 a.m. in the morning
Yeah.
because
It,
we're that dedicated.
we're that committed. We're that committed. Exactly.
But also, like, going back to the story of, like, what Google did, like, handing over their keys to their entire operating system, I mean, we're crossing here the threshold from generative AI to actionable AI. When a model can actually, like, navigate your browser and execute software testing autonomously, the entire definition of knowledge work just changed overnight. Like, I'm seeing, like, everyone's degree here going out the window.
Yeah. Seriously. It it's just it's going to be a completely new world, and people are gonna have to adapt. When I started the episode, I talked about this idea of personhood technology, right? Like, how do we know if something's an agent or it's a human? Old examples of personhood technology included reputation systems. For example, Reddit. On Reddit, you would get karma. So you know someone's like a person or not a bot. You know that they're, a legitimate kind of whatever through karma.
Mhm.
Facebook had a true name policy. Twitter, where bots were more welcome, had algorithmic tooling to accommodate creative discourse while discouraging kind of spammier cousins of that discourse. But basically, what I'm trying to say though is that in the old version of the web, with everybody being a person, there were still all these mechanisms to kind of filter things and ensure personhood. And now we're gonna have to create entirely new versions of that to match what's happening.
No, true. I think it's also good for us to move to the next story, which is actually Kling AI, that had a recording breaking 18 billion valuation. So I'm hoping saying this was Kyushu's AI video generation subsidiary, Kling AI, raised approximately like 2.8 billion at an 18 billion post money valuation. The text to video platform reached an annualized revenue run rate of like, we're talking about like nearly 500 million earlier this year, proving this massive commercial demand. And we talked about it earlier, like text to video is
Yeah,
like no
exactly.
longer experimental toy. It's mature, it's highly capitalized industry with backers like Tencent, Alibaba, the Eastern tech giants are significantly like they fully intend to dominate the global generative video market. And I don't know if you saw Higgsfield as well. They are also came out with Seed Video 2.0. And for me, I was just amazed by the entire concept of that you can now create an entire movie
Yeah, it's
platform.
crazy. It's crazy, but I like it's the new world, you know? And I'm starting to see it's less here, I think, in Europe, but when I was in New York City, I was seeing so many AI generated ads, and I've seen so many ads even just online scrolling, and they're AI generated. So it's like it's taking over not only kind of and then when I'm on TikTok, a lot of people consume a literally this morning, I was on Snapchat. I don't even use Snapchat. It was to view my sister's story,
Mhm.
but I was able to there's short form and long form content on Snapchat that's completely AI generated for people's enjoyment. So all of these different kind of facets of markets from advertising and marketing to just leisure, whether that's in short form or long form, are becoming integrated with AI. But obviously there's a cost on that, and obviously some AI generated content is going to be better than others. So it's really, really interesting to see the industry not only emerge but solidify. And also really cool that, there's specific kind of companies that are coming out as, specializing within this and creating these, groundbreaking valuations such as 18 billion.
I know, it's amazing. I mean, the reason why I talked about the movie also earlier is because at Cannes Festival, so that's this movie festival in France where film producers show like their latest short films and you can win prizes for it. There was one movie, I don't remember what they were called, but they showed a 95-minute movie. Everything was AI generated from the actors to the background, just purely with I think it was with Seed Video 2.0, but that's me guessing here. But no, I was just amazed when I looked at it. I was like, "I wanna see another movie about this." And I was thinking, "Oh my god, this is where it starts."
Oh my gosh.
You can just
Yeah.
say like, "I wanna know what the sequel is." You just put in a prompt, "Create my sequel."
Mhm.
Probably in I don't know, maybe this year or next year, we will see that you can just create your entire franchise if you want.
Yeah, I think that might become a new frontier of leisure, which is creating what you wanna see and, like, even changing the storyboard based off of what you wanna see. So, like, for Harry Potter, if you want a version where none of the Weasley kids die, you can, like, type that in, but obviously, it's a
Think about
completely
that.
What?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, yeah. So you can kind of rewrite things, and I think that'll become a more mainstream concept moving forward. But regardless, it's a huge shot across the bow for Western video models. When a company quadruples its revenue run in a single year, you aren't just looking at hype, but you're looking at a fundamental shift in media production economics. What am very interested to see, and another thing that I think another aspect, a development that I think will kind of come forward is when you're creating movies and you're using AI models that have been trained off of other movies, there could be a lawsuit there. For example, the New York Times in the lawsuit with OpenAI off of taking the likeness of their comics and everything. I think there might be something similar with movies, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I'm gonna be a little bit controversial on this, maybe even a little devil's advocate, because this is the same situation that's now happening with, for example, tools like Suno that did get sued, but are still like they said, where the conclusion was it's trained on audio, but it's not per se illegal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a gray area.
Yeah, it definitely is a gray area. So, like, and especially law is a very precise art, right? If something is ambiguous, then it's unworkable. So it'll be really, and everything is ambiguous currently. So it'll be really interesting to see kind of different thresholds be defined. Like, this is okay, this isn't okay, this is a true gray area, etc.
No, true, but what I'm also wondering, because I see a lot of people saying here, "Oh, actors are gonna lose their jobs, everyone in movie industry is gonna lose their job." I don't think per se people are gonna lose their job in this case, but what I am going to wonder is if it's still gonna be a payable job in the future. But
Yeah, see, one of my really good friends is a model, and she's a commercial model. So, for example, like, what is that one brand? Not H&M, but she does work for a lot of different brands, and they'll photograph her and they'll put it on the website. But in the future, something that's happening now is that they'll scan models, and then they'll just put them like they'll generate the photo themselves, and all they need is the model's likeness.
you'll just be in the system and you get like a royalty
Yeah,
check. Use
which
your image for this brand.
Yeah, which obviously transforms the industry and also transforms how much you get paid. Because versus she'll be doing, a full 3 days of shooting for a campaign for a company. Instead, they kind of just do a few prompts after scanning her body or her face or whatever, is involved, and then it's
Mhm.
done. Yeah.
I know, so I think really where the money will be is probably, like, how big is your network? Like, how many followers do you have on social media? How many retention do your followers have when they see your picture somewhere? I think
Oh, yeah.
a lot of people are gonna have to, like, dig into their own statistics as actors, movie makers, models to showcase to companies, "Okay, why should we hire you for this job?" Like, "These are my numbers."
Yeah, and that's true, like, influencers are becoming more and more important than ever, really.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. But let's move on to another story, actually, because we were talking about earlier, like the walls going up. I really loved my take on that. But
Mhm.
the thing that's actually happening here. So we were talking about like all the alternatives. The internet is actually fighting back against AI, and a good example here are the Cloudflare bots controls. So, for people who don't know, Cloudflare announced new options to allow website owners to distinguish and manage search agent and training bots independently. But as AI agents increasingly scour the web to summarize content, take action on behalf of the users, standard human traffic drops. Cloudflare is stepping in to give publishers fine grade control to contract their ad monetized pages from being scraped from for model training. So I don't know if you saw this article yet.
No.
But it's just very interesting for me because when we go into the specifics here, like an example, instead of like a blunt one size fits all block mechanism, site owners can now specifically like target bots built for training models versus bots built for standard search indexing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think this is infrastructure companies acting as regulators. Because international copyright law and IP law is moving too slowly to address AI scraping, I think that Cloudflare has come up with their own really creative way to enforce digital property rights at a server level. It's also really, really interesting how they kind of distinguish between the different AI bots, search agent training. Like, that's super fascinating that they're able to kind of distinguish and create, like, this really well-structured hierarchy in order to protect people on the web and plan for the agentic web. So I think this is a really good example of a company being able to, still have control and maintain control in the agentic web.
No, agreed. For me, I'm wondering how long it will work because I've seen how like Midos works, for example. Like it can learn from if you like block it, it will like find a way around you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm curious to see how long this will work.
I'm also curious to see what bots will will grow in which way. So, for example, the category search agent training, I think it's kind of new to see agents kind of separated into those 3 categories. So it would be really interesting to see if one agent performs differently to another, etc. Yeah.
Agreed. By the way, talking about agents, did you see Gemma 412B got released? So it's an open model that Google launched. And they designed it to like run local smart agents directly on like everyday laptops until you have like just like 16 gigabytes of memory. And relying here entirely on like cloud infrastructure for AI limits privacy and speed. I mean, we've seen it's how much people are starting to invest into data centers, but we also know it's not good for the environment. There's a housing crisis around the world, so I don't know per se if they're gonna be able to build those data centers. So instead, what if you can just like run it on your own laptop, or at least for the simple tasks?
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. I also think it increases accessibility because that makes it more convenient for people to run kind of autonomous programs on their own computer. I'll try that out after this episode and run Gemma 12B because I've actually been needing kind of agentic work. Like I've been needing to there's some tasks I want done autonomously, but setting up OpenClaw and a lot of the other autonomous programs, it doesn't have the same UI as Google. And there's a lot of kind of barriers to entry. And then again, it's fascinating that it's able to run only on the computer. I think that's a great step forward.
No, and also like when it comes to like privacy, security, like if you can run the model on your own computer and it doesn't go anywhere, it also makes it more possible to do the things that you want to do and not per se want to send back to the Google servers.
Yeah. Completely. And then it's also really interesting how these autonomous services, like, they have, like, access to your whole computer, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, it's using your whole computer to make the operation run, but it's like it because I have a MacBook, it would have access to, like, texts, like, really, like, personal data.
No, true. And I mean, we've seen the stories with OpenClaw where people's credit card got misused and they ended up paying like a $2,000 or $3,000 bill because their agents just went wild.
I know, and there's nothing you can do. Like,
So it's good that you
for
can have
example
more control.
yeah. It's fascinating. However, I think this development shifts liability. If a local autonomous agent misinterprets a prompt and deletes local files, the cloud provider isn't on the hook anymore. The user is. So it's all kind of user generated.
Exactly. It's all on you. But I think that's a good thing because I think this should be in your own control, to be honest. I don't think a company should like control this part.
Mhm.
Also, legally, it's also better for a company because then you can't get blamed if stuff happens.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
That's on their side. But also, like when you're heavily like utilizing vibe coding and like rapid prototyping tools to spin up web apps, having like a local agent that can autonomously test those deployments right on your desktop also changes the entire development cycle. It removes like the latency and also the cost of pinning on API every 10 seconds.
Yeah, completely. So again, I think it comes back to accessibility here. So I think we're gonna see a lot more people using it. And like we said, like the theme of the episode, it's a new web. It's a new web, and
I know.
agents are gonna be everywhere, and they're gonna be on your own computers too. And speaking of accessibility, we want to discuss something major for Europe, which is that Jupiter has gone online. And this is an aspect of Europe's push for tech sovereignty and our next topic. So, Jupiter has now been formally recognized as Europe's first exascale supercomputer, taking the crown as the most powerful and energy efficient exascale system on the continent. Go Europe!
I know. I'm like, what's happening here? I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking here about like in an era where AI computes like equates to geopolitical power. Europe just has historically lagged behind the massive hardware clusters. I mean, we've said it so many times. I mean, compared
Yeah.
to in the US and China, I mean, Jupiter represents actually a massive leap towards European technology sovereignty.
Which is huge because we discussed, I think it was last week, about Claude, like and I was sending Fleur so many things on LinkedIn about this. Basically, the most advanced Claude model, the Department of Justice basically called Anthropic and said, remove access for any foreign entities. So no matter where you were in the world, if you weren't in America, you didn't have access to the latest version of Claude. That's theoretically the most powerful version of Claude. Now, since it has gone back up because there was an executive order that was released trying to like make it safer for America. But so now it's back up. But it's kind of just the precedent it sets that, all these countries are based in America and the government ultimately does have a lot of control. So that could pose a concern for countries that are completely reliant on American tech could be because it can be taken away.
No, agreed. So I think this is a huge leap forward. Also, I think what's good to know here about Jupiter, because maybe people are not familiar with the concept of a supercomputer who are listening to the podcast. So the system was like developed, built with like Partech AG and Boole, firmly anchoring the architecture within the European tech sector. And the supercomputer, it can so the reason why it's so interesting is because it just broke like the world record with like 50 okay, I hope I'm saying it, 50 qubit quantum simulation. That's why it's this so interesting.
Whoa.
I
Yeah.
know. I saw it. I was like, oh my god, we are going towards the next stage. Because we talked about last year about the sorry, Google's Halo chip, which is a quantum chip that was released. But for me, that was like a far away concept just in general. I was like, okay, quantum chip, what are you supposed to do with a quantum chip? But
Mhm.
like using if you're able to
What are you
actually
supposed to do with a quantum chip?
what are you supposed
That's
to do with a
true.
quad? I mean, well, the thing was also like Apple, Samsung, and all these other soft phone companies were like talking about we're going to put quantum chips in every computer from now on, and I was like, okay, but what are we supposed to do with it? One, it's not possible yet because you need you need to change your entire hardware just to make it work.
Yeah.
But also, like, okay, great that you're gonna offer everyone a quantum chip, but people need to know what to be able to do with it. Otherwise, you can just like stick to what it's now.
Yeah, otherwise, like, what's the point of it? I've actually done a lot of research recently on post-quantum security and what that's gonna look like. And crazy enough, I mean, on the topic of Jupiter and how it represents European tech sovereignty, the EU is so insistent on becoming the first bloc to kind of advance quantum. So they're doing all these huge, like, quantum readiness, quantum plan, quantum etcetera. They've jumped on it. Yeah, because I think they what'd you say?
There's also a community called Women in Quantum.
Perfect! Get them in there. Good. I agree with that. But yeah, anyway, it's great that, Europe is kind of taking a lead on this, and then also I kind of see it as the physical manifestation of the EU AI Act, because you can't enforce strict regulatory compliance globally if your entire tech sector relies on American servers. Jupiter ensures that European research can scale without compromising on digital sovereignty.
Exactly. And I think also like what this proves is actually like seeing Europe spin off an independent exascale capabilities prove we aren't just like regulating AI, we're actually actively building the engines to power it. We might be a bit slower, but I always say slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, and then another aspect of that is Europe is such a powerhouse with regards to regulations. American regulations, there's still no federal regulation, but American regulations are built off of the European regulations. And now, if so, basically, Europe kind of controls regulation for the world and the guidelines for regulation. And then if they have the technology as well, I mean, that's like a crazy, crazy powerhouse.
True. And also I'm seeing a lot of talent as well, like being not how they call it like recruited. The recruited is the right word from Europe now as well to other countries outside of the continent to
Mhm.
help out with their AI development. So that's also very interesting for me to see like all these new students who are just freshly graduated or just like offered these high paying jobs. I mean, I even saw in the US this one job for it was an AI first something engineer. You
Mhm.
could get like a salary from 500,000 to $1 million.
Yes, and if you're in Anthropic in London, you can make, I think it's £300, 300K pounds a year.
Mhm.
I saw it's either 250 or 300, but I mean, that's ridiculous. Like,
I know,
that's
I almost fell
that's
over it. I was like, "Oh my god, I should have studied engineering."
I know, but I mean, our jobs are pretty well paid too, in
True, true, true.
demand.
but this is like for me at least. If I could do it over again, this would be my incentive to like go into engineering. Like
But
in
I
the
feel
Netherlands,
like
there are not many engineers, so
oh,
getting into it, it's easy as long as you have like the pre-requirements. I think you have to have like math C or B, something like that.
wow.
It sounds weird. Like we have different kind of math. We have math A, math
Yeah,
B, C, math D.
love that. Yeah, but another thing is that, like, engineering has changed so much. Like, a computer science degree used to be, like, you're guaranteed a job. Oh, that's the best degree that you can do. Versus now that's not the case really anymore because AI can code and AI can code better than humans can. So,
No, true, but that's why I say like if you want to have guaranteed a job, go work for the government.
yeah, true. That's what my mom does. My mom works for the
Me
IRS.
too.
Yeah. It's a good thing to be doing. It's a good thing to be
Yeah,
doing.
you're guaranteed a pension. No, I'm not gonna go get into that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that though. Maybe
But
me
I
one
mean,
day, but
the thing is, what do want to say always to people, like if everyone who's now looking for a job as well, I would say broaden your perspectives and like what your original plan was, and be creative. I mean, I've seen people go from okay, not to be, but who did like a 5 year full time engineering job and are now sheep herders.
really?
Yeah, but that's not per se because they had a meltdown.
Yeah, no, some people just choose. You know what
Yeah,
I
but also
mean?
because they made so much money.
Yeah.
They're like their pension and everything's set, so they can just do whatever they want. They bought a house and then they own sheep.
Wow. Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
Nothing like sheep herding in an autonomous AI world. But anyway,
Exactly.
so kind of wrapping up all these discussions. So we've talked about a lot of different stuff from sheep herding to, European tech sovereignty.
Yeah.
Everything is under the header of the new autonomous web. So agents are taking the wheel. The transition from chatbots to autonomous action taking agents is officially underway, and that is defined by Google's latest Gemini and Gemma rollouts. And another thing is, Gemini is a little bit less popular at the current moment than Claude or ChatGPT. So I think they're really trying to be, kind of first starters with the autonomous AI, Agentic Web. They're trying to make sure that their product is really good. And I think they want to be the first to make it like a convenient UI and everything for like non-technical people to utilize. Digital property lines are being drawn. Cloudflare's new bot management tools signal an end of the Wild West era of web scraping, and it's forcing AI companies to rethink how they acquire training data. And then compute is national security. The launch of the Jupyter supercomputer and the Kling AI massive 2.8 billion raise proves that controlling both hardware and top-tier models is the ultimate geopolitical leverage of 2026. And we really saw that as well
No,
with the
agreed.
Claude Mythos
I'm
model, etc. Go on.
I'm also definitely looking forward like to the next elections, everything around the world in the coming years because you can now start your entire propaganda campaign from a prompt.
Yeah, exactly. So, whole new world.
I know it's a whole new world. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. Definitely subscribe to our newsletter if you want to read through everything we've talked about in our podcast. It's being sent every Monday. I will try to send it every Monday. Also, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other platforms so we know if it helps more people also to find the show and also to let us know if there's anything you want us to cover in our next episodes. You can find us on LinkedIn and Instagram, Gen Z AI Insights. Well, and for me, my closing thought is definitely going to be like technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. But also be prepared to that's
True.
we're going into the agentic AI phase. So read into it, look into it, and
Read
enjoy.
up. Yes. And then our final takeaway is that technology should serve humanity and not the other way around.
Exactly. So, anyway, thank you for listening. Bye bye.
Yeah. And see Fleur on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah, see me on Wednesday.